And thank you very much for being here. Apple, Althea, Diogo, thank you very much for taking the time out of your extremely busy schedules. It's an honor to be here on this panel with you guys this afternoon. So as Jasper said, we're talking about the gateway to, and indeed from, a very special region in the world, Southeast Asia, comprised of, I think it's 11 countries. It's a very unique part of the world, and it's booming. But before we get into the topic of discussion, let's first just find out a little bit more about each of you. Obviously, this gentleman needs no introduction, but you're getting one anyway. Apple the app, multi-platinum selling, multi-Grammy award-winning artist. You are a musician, you are a producer, you are a philanthropist, a founder of your own independent record label. It is fair to say that you know a thing or two about creativity. What am I missing? Have I missed anything off that list, sir?
Right now, beyond creativity, I grew up farming before I was adopted as a kid from the Philippines and became Black Eyed Peas. Now I'm back to my roots, and I'm into agriculture. I'm helping the Philippines grow 100 million coconuts, and also intercropping to bring more revenue to the farmers, because I believe that farmers are rock stars.
Absolutely.
And we've been able to do these advancements without proper nutrients and healthy food and healthy soil. So also it makes make good for carbon credit. So that's what I'm up to right now.
Superb. Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause. Love that, giving back to your community and staying close to your roots. Althea Lim, CEO, co-founder of Gushcloud International. You manage and you nurture some of the biggest names in content creating. Talk to us a little bit more about Gushcloud and what it is that you do.
Okay, so hi everyone, my name is Althea. I'm the co-founder, CEO of a company called Gushcloud. It's our 13th year today in the business, so it's been a very exciting 12 to 13 years in the last decade or so. Today we operate out of 13 offices. We represent and manage some of the world's biggest content creators globally, but most importantly, we start to study and manage their audience data as well. And I think AI has made that very, very powerful and has made that very, very efficient for us. So today, what Gushcloud is really obsessed about is we're obsessed with sustainable incomes. So we think to ourselves, how can we get content creators to really develop sustainable incomes such that when they're in their 50s or in their 60s, there is something to take care of them. And that's something that we're very, very passionate about.
So you look primarily at potential earners income within amongst those content creators.
That's right.
That's where you focus.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. And Diogo, Mediacorp is Singapore's national media network. It's the largest content creator in Singapore, operating a wide array of mediums, obviously television, radio, and digital content platforms. But Bloomr is under the umbrella of Mediacorp, whereby you manage and you nurture the similar sort of thing to Althea, where you nurture and manage content creators. Is it only within Singapore?
Currently, yes.
Currently, yes. Okay, just want to make sure. And you handle everything. You manage these content creators, is that right?
So we basically take one step back from what Althea does at Gushcloud. We try to find most content creators either when they're just starting out or they're invisible, and basically then give them the structure, the resources for them to slowly become the voices that they can become.
Got you. Okay, so you're sort of at the grassroots almost, if you like, and Althea, you go beyond that as well. Okay, so thank you very much. That's the introductions done. Let's just jump straight in to the deep end, shall we? Southeast Asia, as I said, it's home to over 700 million people and some of the most engaged audiences in the world. So for each of you, this is a question for all of you, and it's a very broad and open-ended one, but what makes this region so unique, so powerful for content creation?
Well, Philippines and Southeast Asia is like 4 times bigger than New York, right? So if we could build a system, artists from Southeast Asia could make it here without having to make it in the Western world, I signed an artist that I discovered on The Voice and brought it to the U.S. But that took me so long to do, to fix the papers, the visas. So now I'm back here in Southeast Asia to find more artists and start from here, and it'll make it more easier and faster to find artists.
Absolutely. And then, what would you say? I mean, there was a panel earlier, and a gentleman was speaking about, well, wouldn't it be great if you had the talent here earning money from, the Western Hemisphere in the U.S.? Wouldn't that be something? So is the idea that whilst we have a massive, massive audience and, in all these different cultures and 700 million people, et cetera, and so on, do we want to be looking into America? Is that key? I mean, for your artists at Gushcloud, your content creators, is going to America key, or is staying within Asia just as good?
Yeah, so maybe I'll just give you guys a bit of a data insight. So we operate a business in the United States, and then we operate an entire business out of Asia Pacific and Southeast Asia. So we've got close to 6 offices in Southeast Asia, 3 offices in North Asia, and then we have an office in the Middle Eastern regions as well. And each region is very different, but let's just talk about Southeast Asia today. Now, Southeast Asia is very fragmented. So what that means is that the Filipinos and the Thais, it's actually their own kind of ecosystem, but there are categories that kind of cut through. So music is an interesting category, food is an interesting category, travel, luxury are all interesting categories. But one thing we've noticed is that you could have maybe 6 million followers on TikTok in the United States. And you could have 1 million followers on TikTok in Singapore. And I guarantee you that the Singaporean is making more money than the United States talent. Okay, so that is something interesting, and that's the first data stat I can give you. And the reason is because somebody very powerful once told me, and his name is Russell Simmons, is that there is power in locality. And that is actually the power of music. When you have such a massive audience in your own country that's cheering for you, the American audience will just naturally start to accept you. So that, I think, is the third point. But I think coming back to that question, from a local standpoint, you want to go regional. I sometimes think that, so we have regional talent, and I can also guarantee you that a regional talent that has maybe about 2 million followers, that has 20% in the Philippines, 20% from Singapore, 15% from Malaysia, they don't make as much as a local talent in the Philippines having 2 million followers.
Is that because brands don't see, don't particularly see the advantage of being able? Why would a brand, be wanting to pay someone who's got these audiences and these fans from different regions for a product that's only based in the Philippines, for example, and it's got no relevance in Singapore?
Exactly. So if you think about it, CP Group from Thailand or Bench from the Philippines, if they want an ambassador from this part of the world, they would go for their local talent. If they wanted a regional talent, it has to be somebody that is a subject matter expert. So how can a Singaporean talent that has a lot of fans in Thailand be a bigger subject matter expert than a Filipino or a Thai talent that is a local expert in their own country? But then there are also some categories that cut through the board, like food or luxury. So if you're luxury, then naturally, perhaps a Singaporean talent or a Hong Kong talent that has regional basis would do a bit better in those categories.
In Gushcloud, do you look for, what metrics do you use when signing on content creators? Is it their existing number of followers? Is it their engagement rate? Is it, the amount of videos that they put out? Is it luxury? Is it sport? Is it music? Is it food? What is it that you're looking for in talent?
So I think from a metric standpoint, many years ago, a lot of the brands, they would go for follower count, engagement rates, views. And I'm saying all these are very important. But I think at Gushcloud today, a newer evolution version of Gushcloud looks for income projection and income growth. And that is very, very important today. Because if any of you are parents today, and your kid comes to you and say, I want to be a YouTuber, I want to be an Instagrammer, and you don't want to break your child's heart, and you're going to be stressed out. But if I asked you today, why wouldn't you want your child to belong to a creator economy? Your biggest worry is not whether your child can make money today. Your biggest worry is that who's going to take care of your child at 40 when you are no longer here? So there really is no infrastructure in the financial service model that really takes care of the creator currently. No creator, I dare to say that most creators don't have health insurance. I dare to say that most creators are still renting. And I dare to say that no creator probably has a life insurance plan or is subscribed to a pension plan. And I think those are very big issues that we should actually be thinking about. And those are the issues that maybe unfortunately Gushcloud wants to think about or stress about. Yeah.
But then what do you tell? Because you've got a lot of content creators here with us in Macau, but then what do you tell them? I mean, do you tell them, listen, kid, you've got to be thinking about whether or not you're going to be making a stable income from your channel before you decide to do anything? Or do you tell that kid, no, actually stay authentic, do what you want to do? Which is it?
I think the first question is, how long do you want to be a content creator? I think that's the first question. Like when I'm sure when Apple, looks for his talent, or when Diogo looks for a talent in Singapore and they want to know, and everyone's passionate towards your own category, but at the end of the day, how long do you really want to do this? And if you really want to do this, then you gotta be passionate, but it's also a job, and a job needs to pay.
Yeah. And
can I add one thing? Mm-hmm. And it's pretty surprising that you're having the same problem. We just started a campaign with one of Singapore's biggest banks, and we had 12 talents that were associated to the campaign. Only 2 passed the credit check. And they've been doing, out of the 12, they've been doing content for 5-6 years, even pre-COVID. And now I'm constantly trying to figure out how to solve the problem of I'm missing 10 talents, right? It's insane. I don't think it's because there isn't an infrastructure, right? We try to help as much as we can, but the creators themselves need to understand that if they want to build a business as their own, that's the first step. First, think of yourself as a business, then what is necessary after that.
Well, it's funny because I have 2 beautiful nieces back home, and every now and then on our family group chat, they'll post a video of themselves dancing or, to send to the family, and it's all cute and adorable and all that. The youngest always ends the videos with, don't forget to like and subscribe, right? And I'm going, oh man, and her father is so worried that she's gonna wanna make a career out of being a content creator. But then I tell him, I say, dude, listen, there is some serious money to be made. It's not what you think it once was. This is now actually a proper business where young people now are capable of making some seriously good money through brands, through advertising, et cetera, and so on. Apple, but going back to you as an artist, what do you tell a kid who's a musician? He's a guy, he's a DJ, or he's a drummer, or he's a guitarist or singer or whatever. Do you, as an artist, ever say, well, think about the money, think about the income potential, or do you tell that kid, go for it, just do what you love?
Well, I tell artists that in these days, what I notice is that listeners and fan base, they like more authentic style of music, the more personal it is, and that's how you create a solid fan base. And being a creator definitely is another job beyond being just a musician. It's another set of skills and techniques to being a creator. So, me coming from the old school regime of industry, I'm having to figure it out too. We did a TikTok thing, me, Will, and Tab, and it took us 2 hours to do and we're like, damn, this is a job.
It is hard.
It's you got to be more patient and really creative than musicians. It's another skill.
It's definitely very, very difficult. I mean, it takes me, like you say, hours to even try and put a 30-second reel together. I seriously have no clue what I'm doing sometimes. But the beautiful thing about Southeast Asia as well is, of course, its cultural heritage, right? There are so many different cultures, beautiful cultures within the region. But with that also comes the challenge of, say, for example, language. You know, you've got everything from English to Tagalog to Thai, you know, to Bahasa Indonesia, Bahasa Melayu. So what do you how do you manage that, certainly in Gushcloud and at Bloomr? And in Singapore, indeed, as well, there are so many different languages.
We usually recruit for storytelling and creative capabilities rather than language. Mediacorp produces content across the 4 languages, right? So for all communities. So the majority of the times when we then see that there's a creator that aligns with one of our brands or any other type of platform that we might work on, then it's easier to then just connect them, right? So you can speak in Hokkien and then grab English and Chinese audience in Singapore, but the same way as you would grab then some from Indonesia, some from Malaysia, from the Philippines, simply because the storytelling is great rather than the actual language that they speak. Like with everything, we put subtitles across all of our content, both in Mandarin and in English, and we are testing out the AI translations, even though they're still terrible for localized languages. So I would think that the majority of the times to cross the border is empathetic content, authentic content, and storytelling that touches your day-to-day life and tries to disconnect you from what is happening, right? We tend to be seen as a more traditional publisher, and automatically our content is cringe. But in my opinion, we should lean forward with the type of cringe content that basically educates and informs and grabs the attention of the audience rather than shy away from it. And it happens a lot, right? Because you wouldn't think that a content creator is cringe just because they're more in tune to the platform. But a traditional player or a media network like us automatically is, oh, these are old people trying to do new things, right? But the reality is we have content creators now in their 60s and 70s in our talent pool that have 20-year-olds watching their content because they want to learn. They want to learn how to be better men, how to be better people, right? So then it's an easy connection to create. And it's more that we focus on rather than the language. Singapore's biggest content creator, someone we educated for 8 years at Bloomr, Mini Muchi. I don't know if anyone here knows her. She has, let me get this right, around 5 billion views in the United States. And in Singapore, if you talk to any brand, no one knows she's Singaporean, right? So the language in itself is not a problem. It's more the connections that the people have across the industry, right? But likewise, we then have small content creators that are in lifestyle that have 20,000 followers that might speak Chinese, English, and Bahasa, and automatically they can get a much wider client pool than Celine, the Mini Muchi, right? So I would think that language-wise, capability-wise, and creativity-wise, we target that more, right? And then slowly increase their growth and try to grab as much attention as we can.
Is that the same pretty much for Gushcloud as well?
I mean, I just think maybe I just have maybe 1 or 2 points to add. So on day 1, Jim Lauterbach talked about like attention economy shifting towards the trust economy. So I truly believe in that. I believe that anybody who's playing in the space of content that has been a subject matter expert in something that people trust, I think that kind of piece of content cuts through every kind of like language and every barrier. So I think that's point number 1. And then I think a good story will always be a good story. And I think people just want to go more and more towards a good story as the days go by. Yeah, so I align with him.
And then what do you tell your content creators as far as being consistent with their content? I mean, is that something else that you guys keep an eye out for as well? I mean, obviously there can be creators that do, I'm going to use this word again, viral videos that, get a few million hits or several 100 million hits, but do you ask for consistency amongst your talent pool?
Consistency and patience. So one of our creators is here, Avi.
What up, Avi?
He has a weird relationship with his audience where some of his content goes super globally viral, and then he basically grabs a new step in the audience that he has, and then he needs to create content that basically elevates his growth across everything else, right? But if you were training someone just to go viral, his audience would die out after that first push, right? So having that patience, consistency, and trying to make as much content that basically goes around the same topics, right? Then basically slowly elevates your retentive audience, right? So the people that want to really follow you.
Okay. I'm just very conscious of this dreaded clock that keeps on ticking away. So I know that we haven't got very much longer. So I'm going to ask all three of you, Althea, if we can start with you, actually, what does the future hold? Specifically here in Asia, or sorry, Southeast Asia, looking for the next 5, 10 years, where do you see the industry going and what does it look like for content creators as a whole?
I think, first of all, Southeast Asia will continue to grow larger and larger in terms of like GDP. And I think when you start off with like only one country in Southeast Asia, which is a first world country, and then the rest are third world countries, GDP, salaries, and everything will continue to grow. So when that happens, what that means is that your middle incomes or your lower incomes will become your middle incomes, and your middle incomes will slowly become middle upper, and then middle upper will become upper upper. And so if you just follow that growth trajectory, it just means that more and more people in Southeast Asia will have more and more money. So when that happens, two things are going to happen. The CPM rates, I truly believe, will increase. And so if you're a content creator that is building yourself on YouTube, I think we should have the confidence and hopefully that the CPM rates will increase, and they should increase. I think the second point is that because more and more consumers are going to pay for things, I would highly, highly, highly encourage for every content creator that is global or that is localized to think about what kind of merchandising that you're trying to build. And the reason is because the K-pop world did the right thing. If you really look at where K-pop made majority of its money, it's actually in Southeast Asia. They sold the most number of tickets in Southeast Asia. They sold the most number of merchandise in Southeast Asia. It's very powerful. And it wasn't in Singapore that they sold the most amount of concerts or the most amount of merchandise. They sold a lot specifically in the Philippines, in Indonesia, in Vietnam, and in Thailand. And I think that's very, very powerful. So two things. I think for Gushcloud, we continue to bet big on Southeast Asia. We continue to want to go deep in local markets. But second, we continue to bet big on the rise of GDP, and we continue to bet big on D2C consumerism.
Do you agree with that as well, Dio? I mean,
I would hope
obviously
our CPM
it's going
goes
to be
up,
slightly
yes.
a little bit different as far as Singapore versus the rest of the region is concerned.
No, but seriously, so to the CPM conversation, not just that, but there's no creators fund outside of most of the countries in Southeast Asia, which doesn't make any sense, right? Even specifically in Singapore, if you produce content on TikTok and get hundreds of millions of views, you hope a brand sees your content so that then you can actually monetize it, right? So there's this weird, like we're making content, 700 million people, we get viral in the United States, everywhere around the world, but it's then problematic for us to monetize it unless you know the right people and the right industry. I would think that needs to change, that needs to become better. The buying power of the majority of our audience is becoming incredibly important. The live stream is proof of that, especially on TikTok Live, where people buy hundreds of thousands of dollars of products on a daily basis. And I would think that, in my mind, the only use for AI currently that I actually see as disruptive for content creators, even though avatars and all of that stuff to me is amazing and 5 years away, 10 years away, whatever it is, it's actual valuable translation of content, either spoken or written, without mistakes that automatically makes us apprehensive that this is being made, right? So if I'm speaking authentically and I have a translator that the AI picks it up without any bugs across any language in Southeast Asia, automatically my audience goes from 10 million to 700 million. Right? But if it looks inauthentic, it feels inauthentic, if the translation of a simple word that we use on a daily basis in English to Chinese, to Hokkien, to Bahasa or anything else, automatically it's not translated by the cultural aspect rather than just the language, people tend to be more apprehensive to that content, right? It's breaking that barrier that I think the technology should drive us forward as well.
And finally, just in the last 30 seconds or so here, Apple, music in the region has always flourished, and particularly in the Philippines. And there's a lot of emerging artists coming out now. So the future of music is looking very, very bright in Southeast Asia. Where do you see it going in the next 5 to 10 years? I mean, you've seen some stuff, right? You've been there, you've lived and breathed it. But the future of music is looking very bright in this region.
Yeah, definitely. The music scene in Southeast Asia is growing massively. It's being recognized even in the Western world now. You know, like I see like Sabrina Carpenter collaborating with like Shanty Dope from the Philippines. So collaboration is key. So, we open up we create something unique and also an exposure to the region and music styles, music exchange, and really, I want to see more music conferences and building the economy and the music industry.
I know a guy, and he does a superb music conference every year. It's called Music Matters, and it's probably the single best music conference in the world. And one of these days, we are taking that thing to the USA, and they're going to know exactly just how awesome it is. It's because of people like yourself, Apple, and Althea, and Dio, that we have these kind of conferences. Thank you so very, very much for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, please, one more time, a big round of applause for these captains of industry. Thank you very much.